What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I'm going to shoot my Ruger M77 Hawkeye Alaskan chambered in 300 Win Mag at a target at 100 yards away. I got a silhouette target set up all the way down there. See that silhouette target? And I'm going to shoot at that target with iron sights and see what kind of hits I get. You guys might recognize this rifle. This is my SHTF bolt action rifle, and I've completely stripped it down. You guys might recognize this rifle. I've had it wrapped up in camo. I completely stripped it down, took all the camo off. I had a camo form tape on it, and then I wrapped some leaves around it, some polyester leaves. And I also took my scope off for the first time in 2 years. And the reason why I did that was I accidentally bumped my rear sight one time and I saw it shift a little bit. I actually was gonna Loctite this screw, and because I never Loctited this screw, this is the adjustment screw for the rear sight, and I was going to take the screw off, put some Loctite, and then tighten it down. And in the process of doing that, I nudged the sight just a little bit. So me being the perfectionist that I am, I decided to take off my scope and double check the zero with these iron sights. And these are the standard Ruger Express style sights. Got this big white bead in the front there, and this is an express style sight. So what you do is you line up the bottom of that V notch and that white line with that big white bead. So being that this is my SHTF rifle and that I'm also going to be taking this to Idaho to hunt elk, I want to make sure that my iron sights are good to go, just in case something happens to my scope. You always want to have iron sights, whether it's for SHTF or if you're going on an expensive hunt or you're hunting in an area with predators. You don't want to rely just on a scope because scopes can break. They can get knocked off zero. You always want to have iron sights. So I took my scope off, which was painful to do because I had it perfectly zeroed, but I had to do it. And while I was at it, I just kind of cleaned up the recoil lugs here because they had a little bit of like surface rust. So I brushed off that rust, cleaned up the base here. There was just a tiny bit of surface rust, even though this is stainless steel, but stainless steel can still rust if you get like sweat on there, salt, salt will still rust stainless steel. And I'm going to remount the scope, and I've already double checked the zero on my iron sights and they're dead on. This shot right here was at 15 yards, and then this shot right here was at 25 yards. This was another shot at 25, but I don't think I was really, I think I rushed that shot a little bit. I wasn't perfectly set up. So I'd say I'm perfectly zeroed. So this must be my lucky day, maybe because it's a Sunday. God is shining his blessings down on me. But, zeroing iron sights is always a pain, because if you're off by just like a half inch or an inch, making those kinds of adjustments on a sight like this that doesn't have any kind of clicks or anything, it's really difficult, because you literally just have to move the sight like half a millimeter to get it that extra half inch, moved over. So thank God I'm still zeroed. I was still zeroed, thank God, but I had to double check that for my own peace of mind. And then this was a shot that I took at 50 yards. Okay, now the front bead was covering this whole yellow circle at 50 yards. All right, so this is an 8-inch circle. Each one of these squares is 1 inch. So now, before I mount my scope, because once I mount this scope, I'm not going to take it off for probably a while, at least another year or two. So before I do that, I just want to take some shots at that silhouette target 100 yards away and see what kind of groups I get, because if there were ever an SHTF situation and my scope failed on this rifle. I want to know what kind of point of impact I'm going to get with these iron sights at 100 yards. So I'm going to take some shots now. Let's see what happens. And the ammo I'm using is just some basic Federal Power Shock. This is a 180 grain Spear hot core. Nothing super fancy. This is pretty powerful stuff, but it's not like premium ammo. I try not to zero my iron sights with premium ammo. I usually only zero my scopes with premium ammo. Once I get my scope dialed in pretty close, then I switch over to premium ammo and zero with the ammo that I plan to use. And that's important too for SHTF or for hunting purposes. You want to pick one particular load that you're going to use like 75% of the time and zero with that load and make that your standard load. All right, guys, so there's our hit right here. I'd say that's a dead marauder. And at 100 yards, that front bead was pretty much covering the entire 8-ring. That whole 8-ring was just, this whole, basically the whole center mass area was covered by the bead. So it's hard to get an exact aim on it, but I'd say that's pretty good. You know, I had the sight kind of lined up right there, so a little bit to the left, but that's probably just human error. So there's a little bit to the left, as you can see, because I had it centered, and it's kind of a little bit off center, but you know, at that distance with that huge bead, it's really just splitting hairs. So I'm happy. That's pretty much it, guys. Just make sure to train like you're gonna fight with your firearms. You know, don't just slap on your scopes and your iron sights and not actually test them out at different distances with different ammo. You know, spend some time at the range, standardize your ammo, practice with your equipment, get familiar with it. Take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.